Paul, how are you?
Hey Olga, how you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a little while since we've had a chat.
Thanks for having me. I'm
My
excited. I love sharing.
Awesome, awesome. And I love solutions. So I think there's a little bit of doom and gloom other than the winter that we're experiencing at the moment. There's lots of letters coming from the ATO, calls coming from the ATO, and it can be a little bit scary at times. And I know that a lot of people might be watching this in the middle of the night, is the feedback we get. So if we can help with some solutions in what you do and in what we do to stop the ATO taking recovery action and to ensure businesses stay alive, I think it would be great to chat about today.
Oh, totally. And we're seeing a lot at the moment where businesses are becoming just uncertain about what their definition of growth is.
Yeah.
And some of the things that are influencing that is cash flow. And some of the things that are influencing cash flow are obviously commitments to the tax office. And that space for me is something that a lot of business owners don't necessarily see it because it doesn't show up in their monthly accounts. They don't see it because it doesn't show up in the profit and loss, but they're spending 15 grand a month with the tax office. Well, that's biting you because you've got to earn that and more to be able to then cover it each month. So yeah, there's a lot of issues that are coming up and challenges around cash flow, but also taking into account visibility on debt, minimisation, etc. So.
And I think one of the things that just one of the things that you and I have in common is that we're very specialised. So we help in a very niche way. And I often say that the world is so complex now and so complicated that you can't be an expert at everything. And these specialists and having the right tools in your tool belt, the right community around you is what businesses now need. Did you want to just tell us in a bit of a nutshell where you fit into the puzzle, what you do, why you're unique and how you help people?
Yeah, I can, and conscious of the fact that keeping it brief because I could talk for days on this, and I have. So where we fit in, and I caught up with a mate during the week who was over from the UK, and he's in the HR space, he is a fixer. What we do is we go into businesses and help them identify what is not working, how they can fix it, and then who they need in their space to be able to fix it, take action, get it done, and get it done quickly. So to sit in a space, we have an accounting background, so we leverage that to understand what's influencing the business, cash flow, etc. But then we also sit there and go, okay, well, how do we come up with solutions? And you mentioned solutions before. We're looking at opportunities to help people see more options, take more action, make better decisions to get better results.
Yeah, absolutely. And if someone asked you, because I get asked this question all the time. So I get asked all the time, why can't my accountant do what you do? And my response to that is that your accountant is like your GP. They look after your general health, your general well-being, your lodgements, your compliance. I'm like the specialist that when you smash your knee and you have a very specific problem, the specialist comes in, we come in, we help with the payment plan, we stop the ATO taking any recovery action that's scary, we fix your knee, we fix the problem, you get on with running your marathon or get on with running your business. So that's sort of how we fit. How would you describe how you fit?
Yeah, totally. We've built up a circle of trust, which includes quality advisors to allow us to sit strategically at a level with the business owners to help them reset what they want their business to be. Yep. Then we go, right, okay, well, if that's what you want in 12 months, 18 months, 24 months, great. Who do you need in your space to make that happen? Do you need an accountant? Yes, because they're good at accounting and tax. But are they able to help business owners shift their mindset around what they can do to fix their business? Generally, no, because time poor and it isn't their skill set to be able to take that on. So then we go to the lawyers and say, okay, well, you need a lawyer. Yes. Do you need someone to negotiate tax office debt? Yes. Insurance broker? Yes. So what we do is we create a high level picture for the business and then ask them to take that to their specialists. And if they've got tax office debt, Same thing. It's like, it's not us. Our job isn't to go to it. So if we take the accounting piece of that, we can do a 12-month cash forecast, and we do for our clients, but our job's not to give specific accounting advice. We give them our view of the world and help them be able to go to their specialist accountants, lawyers, etc., to have a better conversation from that specific accounting, legal, etc. So in a reverse kind of way, where our specialisation is giving them a high-level reset of their strategy, so they can then go to the accountant, the lawyer, etc., to get specific advice. So it's a kind of a reverse speciality, because we give them a high-level helicopter view. They then go to their specialists to get specialist advice for them.
Yeah.
And we don't wedge ourselves in the business. We're designed to get out within 3 to 6 months maximum, and then give them all the tools, the business owner, all the tools they need to be able to do it, like introducing them to the people they need. And if they don't need us, that's okay.
Yeah.
Our job's done.
Yeah.
And just help them.
Another question that I get asked a lot is how people get into this situation. So I know a lot of people feel quite embarrassed when they end up with tax debt, or they feel quite embarrassed that they haven't done a good job if their business isn't flying, or if something hasn't quite gone to plan, or to actually reach out and need the help. What are some examples that you have personally seen that have led to businesses, very, very good business people, very, very good at their craft, but have led to them needing to reach out and needing your help in different circumstances?
Most of the businesses that reach out to us are the ones that are challenged. But the challenge is they don't technically very good at what they do.
Yeah.
Plumbers, builders, etc. That's fine, but run a business, it's different. It's a different beast. You know it. I know it. It's a different beast. So the people that we tend to find reach and come looking for us are the ones that don't fully understand how to run the business side of their business. Technically, plumbers, accountants, lawyers, they're great at that side of it, but the whole element of how do we make it profitable, how do we grow it, what does it look like, what do we scale, what does that look like? The business context is a different beast to the technical side of it.
Yeah,
and that's
We also see illness. So things that are outside people's control. So you could have a very good business, but if the key person or the person that's been running the business for a very long time gets sick, and of course that takes the focus, or if someone within their family gets sick. Another thing that we're seeing a lot of at the moment, which I think is a sign of the times, is if someone or a major client owes a company money and they don't pay. So if you're expecting someone to pay you $100,000 and they're 50%, say, of your ongoing work, if that particular business both doesn't pay the $50,000 and then they go under, you not only lose that payment, but you also lose the ongoing revenue from that client. So you're behind the 8 ball, and it's that plan of how do we buy time with the ATO, which is where we come in, and like what you mentioned, how do we become profitable again? How do we grow again? How do we deal with this?
And if I can give you a quick example, an accountant who refers me work, he said, I can't have the conversations about shifting the mindset of the business owner. So I sat with one of his clients, and they had a business that was a massive business. Over 10 years, did 380 million, and it failed. Significant. They were going again, and they were doing exactly the same thing again in the next business. So, and what was it that they didn't understand? They didn't understand that the element of de-risking payment, de-risking. How do we work with clients? How do we ensure that we are de-risking, only getting not paid a little bit, but then connecting them to others who can help collect debt, etc. So we're in a space to go. A lot of what we do is just helping them understand and what's influencing their business. That's and again, the thing that we do.
That's specialists, right? So again, we're back to the pieces of the puzzle. Who do we need? And life is complex now. So I think if you're a plumber, not that I know anything about plumbing, but if you were a plumber 20 or 30 years ago, life would have been much more simple about getting paid, about sending invoices, about running the business. Whereas now I think we really need all those different pieces of the puzzle. And I think too, no matter how big the business is or how long you've been running it for, it's about having people in your corner that care and that can advise you. I hear lots of people say, well, just tell the ATO that if they don't take this amount of my money, then I'll go under and they won't get anything. And the reality is, where the collections are at the moment, the ATO don't care about whether or not those people have a job specifically. It's about compliance and about collection. I care, you care, and we're here to care and to get them to where they need to be. And I think it is having that specialised knowledge that can help with that care piece.
Totally. And it's also having trusted advisors that are there for the client, not for their own benefit.
Yeah.
And the reason I say that is because I was talking to a business coach a month ago, and I said, so what do you do? Well, we sign them up for 12 months. When do they start to get value? Probably 9 months in, because then what they do is they then go, oh, okay, well, we're starting to get value now. Let's go again. We'll go for another 12 months. I said, but what happens for the first 9? Oh, we just do a diagnostic of their business and we talk to all their people. And I said, well, you don't help them until then. And they went, no. And so the element of being a specialist, but also being people that are there to help the people in front of you for their reason and why they need it, not just, I'm going to do it because I'm going to get this amount of money over 12 months, sure up my cash flow, and I'll be okay. It's like when you make it about someone else, then you sit there and go, well, what do they need?
I think there have been a lot of hungry, both not just service providers, but businesses and industry. We call it the COVID hangover. And it's almost like a bad dream now, but I think it is still there. It still has a flow-on effect for so many businesses at the moment. But just from an ATO perspective, just saying I was COVID affected is not enough to get a payment plan. It's not enough to get the interest back anymore.
But how many accountants value themselves enough to be able to have a conversation with the ATO about getting a specific payment plan, or getting interest refunded, or getting charges, or in that side of it? How many accountants generalisation, they'll ring and they'll go, oh, we can get you 15 grand a month for 12 months. That's what the ATO will give us.
Yep.
Well, and that's only what they felt comfortable negotiating.
Yes, and it's not their expertise. So no. I think in some ways it's really unfair, and it's difficult for the accounting profession at the moment because their clients are expecting them to be experts in every area possible. And there's so much going on. It's impossible. I have 14 staff that do nothing but talk to the ATO in relation to debt, payment arrangements, and interest all day, every day. We don't do lodgements, we don't do returns, we don't do tax advice, we don't do BAS. So the knowledge that we have by just doing this, it's impossible to compare that with another expert or another service provider that has so many other tools and so much other skills in their belt.
Totally. And the necessity for what it is that you and your 14 people do is that it allows the accountants to not have to be the one that is having that conversation. And so, we have conversations with business owners because a lot of the time the accountants don't fully understand the non-accounting piece of business, and they don't feel comfortable having that conversation because you're asking, people that might be very strong-willed people to think differently. And from an accounting perspective, your logic, and that's what people go to accountants for. But do you go to an accountant to help them shift your mindset around your business? Generally, no, because it's not their skill set. That's why a lot of accountants refer to me because, yes, I have an accounting background. I don't do any of that, but I use it as a way to help the business owner see what's possible. And that's different.
Yeah, and that's where I talk about we work in parallel. So we all work side by side in our columns together to get to the bottom result that we all need. So we work with a lot of accountants where they're doing the lodgements, where they're getting everything up to date, where they're doing the financials, and we're doing the debt negotiation piece in relation to the payment arrangements or the interest. You might then begin about where to next. So you can sort of see it's like sometimes it's 3, sometimes it's 4. There could be a broker in their column as well. And if we're all running our race in our columns, down the bottom I see the client as like the lake, the pool, where we need them to be, that we're all contributing to get them the absolute best outcome so they can continue with their business, so that they can be successful and maybe not talk to us again, even though I like them.
But then also, if for whatever reason the business isn't able to continue to be successful, then 9 times out of 10 they're going to go again.
That's so true.
And that's where they also need conversations around, okay, well, what happened with our ATO debt? Go through an SBR or whatever, that turnaround space. Once they come out of that, then who helps them? Because generally they start to go, actually, you know what, we're just going to do what we did before, which we saw with that client of ours. Same thing. It's like, who helps them change the way they view their business? Generally, they don't. They just go again, clock starts ticking, and 3 years' time, they're back in the same position.
It's interesting you mentioned SBR. So we've got a few clients now that have actually been through the SBR process, but you still have a debt. So the SBR doesn't make it all go away. You still have a debt at the end of the SBR. And where we're now getting contacted is that the arrangements that were made for that debt are not feasible. And so we're coming on board to renegotiate, I'll call it the residual debt, but the debt that is left, to get that into a more affordable payment plan so that they can manage cash flow, so that they can continue to flourish. Because it hasn't quite been the magic pill that I think some people thought it would be. And as you said, there's so much more to it when you're running a business. This fixed a portion of it, but then there is advice and help that's still needed as they continue to trade.
Bingo. And what tends to happen is, and I love what you showed there in terms of, you know, that the SBR, it is a plan. It doesn't just go away and things are back to what it was. You still have to deliver the plan. But then once they deliver the plan, then it's right, well, are they just going to keep doing what they did before to get them in the same position, or are they going to look at it differently? And having a conversation with you around, well, what can you do differently to ensure that you're not going to end up using the ATO as a bank, because they're not, that's not what the ATO do, because they are now conscious of it, as opposed to, yeah, we'll get you money at some point. Now they're going, no, we've done that. Now it's about how do we look forward and say, how do we have a plan in place to allow us to ensure that you don't end up back in the insolvency turnaround space because you've been there.
Yep.
How do we help you proactively stay out of it?
And I think you've talked about mindshift and mind space quite a bit. And I think that's also important with understanding the ATO. And their collections at the moment. So it's all well and good to say, well, 12 months ago or 2 years ago, or this is what I used to do. That's all lovely. And I think a lot in our lives, we would wish that we could be back to what we used to do. But there has been a mind shift within the ATO of collection. Absolutely. There's even new laws, new legislation specifically that have been put in place, including the non-deductibility of interest and penalties, to change the mind shift that the ATO aren't a cheap small business bank. They're not a small business bank. They're not there to lend, and there is collection activity if you don't pay. And that is a huge mind shift for both the ATO, but also for business owners. And it doesn't help anymore by just saying, well, we didn't used to do this, so why do we have to do it now? We've got a particular client that would often lodge a BAS, would then put that BAS into that debt, into a payment plan. Then they would wait until the next BAS was due. Then they would lodge that BAS but not pay it, which would default the payment plan. And then they would just ring up and say to the ATO, can you please just roll that BAS in? And every 3 months that a new BAS became due, they would just cancel or default the old plan, and then they would roll it in. That's a perfect example of a mind shift of the ATO. And clients have said, but I've always done, this particular client said, I've always done this. but it doesn't work now. That ATO will not accept you to continue to roll BASs, and they won't accept that you to continue to default on plans and give you new plans.
That's right. I mean, we have a saying, nothing changes if nothing changes. So if that's what they've always done, historically it's worked, but the tax office now think differently. It won't continue to work. So we find we do 12-month cash forecasts. We now include a cash flow item on that, because most business owners we saw, they would look at their profit and loss and go, oh yeah, I've got 200 grand, I'm sweet. But they would have 150 grand worth of ATO debt that was needing to be paid, but that wasn't showing up in any conversation, and they thought their business was flying, but it wasn't. They were losing money because they had this outstanding debt. Now, referring them to you gives them an opportunity to understand, A, is there any of that can be reduced or written off? And B, how do we get it to a point where we may be able to have it flexed to match their cash flow or whatever? But without a specialist to do that, an accountant's not going to do it. Legal, probably not. They're going to go, no, outside of our band, let's have a chat to Olga. Anyone else, it's like that is a specialist skill set that allows them to get a better outcome, which means their business can continue to operate or operate in a way that's more certain and more relative to, they might be a seasonal business.
And I do think it is that we keep going back to specialists and better outcomes. So I actually did a MFAA trade show conference yesterday, and I was talking to lots of people, and people said, well, we can get a payment plan. We can get 6 months. I'm like, well, yes, a lot of people can get payment plans, but they're horrible. They're terrible. They're not specialised. They don't meet the client's needs. So again, with what you do, with what we do, with what so many brokers do, it's about that specialised help that's going to get the client the best outcome for the best chance of success to recover from not bad business, but to recover whatever's happened that's outside of their control to get back on track and back in the positive cash flow.
And being a specialist doesn't mean it has to be a 12-month contract.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I'm seeing a lot. It's like, oh, so it'll be a 12-month contract or this. And it's like, no, it's a piece of work. Get in, get it done, get out. It's not about wedging people as specialists. It's not wedging ourselves in the business. It's get in, fix it, and get out.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had one tip for people watching this, if they're stressed, if they're embarrassed, if it's the middle of the night, apparently YouTube, I got told last week that YouTube is the most watched platform. Don't quite know how to put it on my TV. But everyone else seems to. If you had one tip for someone watching this at the moment, what would that be?
If they're in a space where they're feeling challenged or they're anxious or overwhelmed, just think about your space and go, I'm choosing to be in this space. If I'm choosing to be in this space, then I can choose to do things differently. And I use the phrase, nothing changes if nothing changes. If you want something different, do something different. And it's okay to reach out to a specialist, because that will help you do something different now rather than waiting 6 months.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Paul.
My pleasure. Thank you.